Hey, welcome to the CAUSENETIC podcast.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energized.
Hey, we're tackling topics and telling the truth.
I'm Roderick Ross.
I'm Keith Benson.
So today our topic is with liberty and justice for all. This idea around social justice. You ready?
About it. Talk to me.
You ready?
Talk to me.
So, okay, Wikipedia, because, fam, I love a good Wikipedia post or entry. They're just so informative. So, according to Wikipedia, social justice... Social?
Okay.
Social justice, if your mouth does what your brain tells it to do. Social justice is justice in terms of the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privileges within a society.
Wealth, opportunity, and privileges. Okay.
Wealth, opportunity, and privileges within a society. Social justice. So that's what social justice is.
Okay.
And so, digging around, because when you talk to people, everyone has kind of their take, right, of this idea of social justice and what is social justice and what are the things we should really be focusing on in the social justice space. But I came across this idea. I'm going to sound exceptionally intelligent because I am. But I want to tell you this, right, as a framing for the conversation.
Okay.
So are you ready?
Okay. Talk to me.
So, according to Wikipedia again, interpretations that relate justice to a reciprocal relationship to society are mediated by differences in cultural traditions, some of which emphasize the individual responsibility towards society, and others, the equilibrium between access to power and its responsible use. So that tells me, even in the social justice space, perhaps the reason why we have so much dissension and sometimes people can't even, not only can they not come to a consensus about what social justice looks like in a certain space, they can't even come to a consensus about what social justice is, because some people believe that social justice is anchored in what the individual's value proposition is to society, and those people deserve whatever justice is that they are allowed. Other people believe that, social justice is anchored in, if you have access to power and wealth, then you are the recipient of extra social justice, or the bend of justice the arc bends your way. And that in and of itself, I think, is the problem. I am a genius. I done figured out the whole social justice thing. I should get a check for that.
So United Nations.
I meant a monetary check, not a check mark. Are you kidding me right now?
So United Nations lays it out this way. Social justice may be broadly understood as the fair. I like that word, fair.
Yeah, but it's subjective. But go ahead, you win. Let me hear what you
And compassionate distribution of the fruits of the economic growth.
See, so fair, right? And then fruits of the economic growth. But then herein lies what I would think would be a conundrum that perhaps creates a melee, right? Do you see me using all of these 2023 words?
Girl, I'm about to,
Who gets to decide whether or not you should get this? What's fair to give you if I put in more in the economic, right? Like, I don't know. If I put more in, is it fair for you to get the same amount as me?
Well,
social justice.
But you just say equal, though, the same amount.
But that's, perhaps. Okay. Fair just means you get something.
Fair means you get something.
Well, who decides the something?
I mean, that depends on the situation, though, right?
Does it?
If I bake a cake,
I want the same size piece you got.
Well.
What you mean, well?
I don't know if I mean.
My cake.
I don't even know if I'm sharing with
I
you.
don't even know if I'm gonna let you know I baked a cake.
You like, what's that smell? I don't know.
Disinfectant, I was cleaning. I don't know what you smelling.
Got a cake? No, there ain't no cake.
But okay, so that goes back to my point. So do I get a piece of cake because I'm a responsible individual and you know me and I get a piece of cake, or you only gonna give me a piece of cake the size of what you think I should have, which may be no piece of cake because it's your cake.
Oh, a sliver.
A see-through piece of cake. I don't understand why I can't have a piece of cake.
All right, so National Association of Social Workers put it like this.
Okay.
Social justice is the view that everyone deserves, here you go, equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities.
I think I identify with that one more. That, that word equal could be a game changer.
So then additionally says social workers aim to open the doors of access and opportunity for everyone, particularly those in the greatest need.
I think that definition resonates with me a bit more.
So deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities.
Right. Rights and opportunities. Equal.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Because if I'm a human being on this earth, just like you,
right,
I should be able to have access. But like the access changes though when you get into the private space of people.
Well, okay, tell me more.
So if a company decides to have, X rules, or not X rules, but they decide to offer you X because you've invested X, but then we can't get the same thing because what you invested may be more than what I invested, so it doesn't come out equal. Right.
True, but the company exists within the framework of the larger society, so where people think, right, where like, no, there should be this equal. So how can I espouse that belief in general society, but then as soon as I step through the doors of whatever this company, organization, what I work for, interface, whatever, and like, oh, well, those rules don't apply? Because if we do it in that space, then heck, we can do it in other spaces as well. I don't. But it seems that this whole idea around social justice, whether you kind of lean to the bend of equal distribution or distribution based on the individual's responsibility and contribution, or the equilibrium between access and power and all that. What I think it all comes down to is this whole idea of human capital.
Okay.
Right? Human capital. So human capital really is this idea of the skills and knowledge and experience that an individual or population possess in terms of the value that it has for the society as a whole. And so is there a correlation between what people may view as the human capital of a certain group, a certain entity or whatever, and their ability to get social justice?
So if we have justice, do we have poverty?
That's a good question. And if we believed that everyone is human capital, not just some people, everyone, right? Do we? Do we have poverty? Do we have any of the isms?
I mean, but some of that's going to be there because people have choices and they make decisions.
Well, that's true, right? They got lived experiences, give you preferences.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of decisions, good or bad, it takes them down a different road. And so therefore, in some cases, if you don't make good decisions, it doesn't just affect you, but it can affect your generation line.
Right. But then it does.
Therefore, it leads to
okay.
this ongoing poverty.
True, but so sometimes you don't make good decisions because you were in a state of poverty, and say that decision ends you know, results in you being adjudicated, right? So now you've entered the criminal justice system,
right?
And you paid your penance, you did, you know, whatever you had to do in order to now go back into society and ideally, right, be prosperous or at least have the ability to access. But that doesn't happen. Like, people who come out of prison and jail have a hard, you have a very hard time.
Yeah.
So where's the social justice in that?
This is some deep stuff, man.
I'm telling you, I got more questions than answers.
And so,
I don't got no answers.
If we have justice,
okay,
do we have food insecurity?
I don't know.
I mean, we talk about all these different. We could take a look at all these different spaces. You know, poverty, food insecurity. You know, a community doesn't have a grocery store that has decent fruits and vegetables and produce.
Particularly where that community is experiencing health disparities at a ridiculous rate.
So these things begin to mount on top of each other. Well, why you have health disparities? Well,
your life expectancy is lower in this zip code. Sometimes by decades, over a course of a mile or two.
Yes.
That's it's amazing.
And it's like we got to pour into these different systems to help change that. And I don't have a right answer for it, but I know we live in, work in the space, the space that we work in. We have the opportunity to be able to help change in some way.
Right.
I mean, just today we were doing food distributions at the branch, and it's amazing to me how, you know, when the pandemic hit, of course, you know, people had to get food. A lot of people weren't working, but for us, our particular branch at Moreland Y at Oak Cliff, it has not slowed down. I mean,
because it existed pre-pandemic. Like
today, we shelled out 500 boxes of food.
It didn't slow down.
No, I mean those needs in there. So people still live in this food insecure space
because those foundational and systemic challenges weren't solved. I mean, just putting extra boxes of food there does not solve, well, why is this particular community perpetually hungry?
Right.
Right? Like, that's the biggest question. And I don't think that there is any dissension amongst human beings, right, with liberty and justice for all, this whole idea of social justice. I think everyone believes, ideally, overarchingly in that premise, but where we get into the weeds...
Most people.
Most people.
I think you gotta be careful when you say all.
Well, you're right. But I don't say it. The Pledge of Allegiance said it. With liberty and justice for all. I ain't say it. But I think where the brush up is that people have these different ideas of what social justice is. Wow.
This one's a little deeper than where what I thought it would go. Because
I wish I had answers, but I don't. I just have. It's great conversation.
Right. But the thing is that can we just openly have these type of conversations?
Now
so that we can get to the root of it.
Right. And not with like-minded people.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's easy to do it when everybody's singing out of the same hymnal, right? Like, it's hard when I'm singing rap and you singing. What you singing?
We overcome someday.
I didn't mean for you to sing it. I just meant for you to pick a genre. Good gracious.
Okay, I thought you would give me the cue to sing.
Let's be clear.
You pointed like...
Let us be clear. I will never give you the cue to sing. That cue will not ever come from me. And I don't think I have to, because you're going to do it anyway. I'm just saying, just being able to have this conversation in a diverse group of folks and really just hear what social justice means to them, because perhaps that's a part of why we can't get to some solutions is we can't even agree on definition.
And the thing is, it is okay for you to be passionate on either side.
Right.
But as fully grown adults, this is just my saying, fully grown adults.
Fully grown as opposed to partially grown.
Exactly. Because there's partially grown.
There's a partially grown adult.
I know that after 18, you're supposed to be quote
not the way my
grown.
kids stay in my
I'm just
doggone
saying.
pocket. You
but
right.
The people that are in the seats that make decisions are fully grown folks, or else they wouldn't be in the seat.
Right.
Like, you got to be able to have the tough conversation.
Yeah.
And some of that may be like, you got to raise your voice, but listening in the process of all that right there. Because, and I say raising a voice, not from an anger standpoint, but just from a passion standpoint. And are you able to be able to speak it that way, but also calm yourself to listen to the other person? And then let's talk about, all right, once we add all that stuff out, all right, how are we going to come up with some solutions to get to these places?
Yeah.
And things have happened. I mean, when you think about voting rights, for an example.
Sure.
There was a time that everybody didn't have that.
Sure.
But there were steps that were taken, people passionate on both sides, that get us to the place where we are today, that we can, that people can vote.
And perhaps to encourage folks, to have the conversations. I know when you get into certain leadership roles, the expectation is that you're able to, reach the tough subjects, right? And you're able to have the difficult conversations. But who said? Like, being able to talk about social justice with someone who just has a different opinion, why is that a tough conversation as opposed to just an exploratory one? Like, we're not going to solve it in this conversation, but what we may do is find that we're not as far apart as we initially believed, or perhaps one person gives another person enough insight that they change their mind, or they both walk away agreeing to disagree. Like, sometimes it's not that hard. It's not that. Just talk to people and like, I'm just really fascinated, and I just want to hear.
There's common ground to be found.
Yeah.
And if you are level-headed enough, you can do that.
Yeah, because like I said, the Pledge of Allegiance said it, with liberty and justice for all. So clearly, it is a foundational component of the society that we live in the United States. It merits us kind of figuring out, what does that really mean? And this idea of social justice. What is it, and what do we do with it?
Yeah. Come on, people. Let's sit down at the table.
I would love to hear the feedback.
Let's sit down at the table and talk.
I would love to hear
Hit us up with some feedback, though. Hey, but look.
What is social justice?
I know. But
human capital.
Yes.
All the justices.
Yes.
Don't try to rush me, Keith.
I'm not trying to rush you, girl, because I see about. Well, we done stirred up some stuff right here.
Because I'm so stirred right now.
It's paused us to be able to say, where's the fairness in somebody not having food?
Right. And do you have to prove your value in society as an individual in order to warrant a basic need like that, right? Or do you have to show where you've amassed this kind of power in this to justify why you have a whole... I'm going to definitely need cookies behind this. Definitely.
Well, I don't know if anything ever stopped me.
You sound judgy.
Having a good cookie.
You sound so judgy. I'm going to eat some too.
Well, just finish off the jelly beans that you got off over there right now.
I had help. I had help with the jelly beans.
Hey, don't be telling all the business now.
Excellent jelly beans.
Hey, but look. Hey, before we sign off, y'all, we must give props to our producer.
One Mississippi, two Mississippi. Shay.
Lachey Leonard, y'all.
Yes. I love her. And thank you for listening to CAUSENETIC.
On this episode called With Liberty and Justice for All.
Subscribe and listen to us weekly.
And don't be shy. Give us a 5-star review.
And as always,
be dynamic.
Phenomenal.
And be CAUSENETIC.